What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and back in action, Daniel Kunimoto. That's right, DK is back in the background. We appreciate him coming on as well. But it is day two. Well, day two of camp is in the books, right? It is. I mean, it is the end of day two of camp, but the day has been over as far as practice goes for a while and media obligations and things like that. So we're here to talk about it, Glenn. We're using our armchair psychologist, best techniques to read between the lines and use the tidbits of video that we have and things like that, and give you some of our impressions. So, Glenn, what were your first impressions based on the information you're able to gather on today, and maybe some updates and things like that on players?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, John Harbaugh was asked if for any update on Lamar Jackson, and of course he had none. At this point, he's in the protocol, and he said basically there will not be any updates until he's back and able to rejoin his teammates on the field. So nothing new on Lamar. But as far as what got me the most excited when I was looking through, because we unfortunately haven't made out to camp yet. So we're leaning on those who are out there, and those are other members of the media. I said other. You notice that, Jimbo?
Yep, that's right. They are our peers.
That's right.
Whether they like it or not.
That's right. Absolutely. But what got me most excited was when Jamison Hensley tweeted out his camp notes, and we use a bunch of different guys, and he's certainly one of them. But he talked about the rookie pass rushers, the duo of Odafe Owe and Dalen Hayes, and apparently they shined today. And I heard, I can't remember who else was talking about it specifically, but when they talked about Odafe, they said he beat Big Al Alejandro Villanueva in one-on-one drills, which typically this early in camp, it's kind of widely known that the tackles kind of have the edge up right now. And so the fact that not only was he able to beat a tackle, but to beat a vet like Alejandro, who is, a guy who's been around, done it all, seen it all, and he was beat by, this wet behind the ears rookie, was really encouraging to hear. It got me excited. And then Dalen Hayes as well, won his one-on-one battles as well, showed out, and did so against a little bit lesser competition, did so against some of the backup tackles, but nonetheless showed out and got me a little juiced up that maybe this pass rush isn't in the dire straits that I thought it was. Well,
I'll also tell you that I've heard that the Ravens are in conversations with the Packers about who's the Smith kid, not
Zadarius?
No,
Preston?
the other one, Preston, about acquiring Preston Smith. So,
whoa,
I don't know if Eric DeCosta is feeling as strong as you are about the positivity today. Now, that would be interesting, but I'm hopeful. Look, everyone talks about it. I will gladly eat the microphone cover. And,
it's funny when you've now set yourself up to be almost the de facto
Odafe hater.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be. You know that I want him to do good.
But now that the mic cover is into play, that's your role now.
And now, if I think you can call me a hater if I would have said, I'll eat it if he gets 2.
Yeah.
But 10, that's a significant accomplishment.
Well, look, that's a pretty steep penalty. So yeah, it's got to be a significant.
It better be, because I don't know how I'm passing this thing. I literally am concerned. I might have to consult my doctor beforehand. But so I don't know how positive I am on that as of yet. I think I need more, but that is a good sign. Like you said, he's beaten a guy like Alejandro that you were saying, and then Dalen I think so far he's been a pleasant surprise, especially in comparison to some of the things we heard where he's going to be a role player, this, that, and the other. Look, his kid might end up having an impact, so that's exciting to hear as well. But on not so good news, we had Marquise go out today in practice, and John said it was precautionary. It's a muscle thing, but he left and didn't come back. And then Marcus Peters sounds like he's having a toenail issue. hopefully it's more than a toenail issue in that it's an ingrown toenail and not like a my toenail broke type situation. I'm sure he's a little tougher than my toenail broke.
Yeah.
But what's your take on those two guys? And are you concerned about Hollywood really more than anything?
Yeah, I mean, the Peters issue, he's expected to be back tomorrow or at the very latest the next day. I've had a similar, issue if it is the ingrown toenail, which I'm expecting. And, if you're wearing tight cleats and you got an ingrown toenail, it's going to hurt. And especially going to hurt when you're trying to plant and push off and explode in and out of breaks. So I think that once there's the procedure, they take care of that. He'll be back out there. So no worries about Marcus Peters. But not a ton of concern about Hollywood, but a little bit. I mean, you're talking about a muscle issue, and no matter how minor, and I know he said that, it's early in camp, so they want to make sure that muscle is healthy. So this was precautionary, but you also just don't know when it comes to a muscle. I mean, those muscle injuries can tend to linger on, and then any moment you could, have a tear, a pull, or just a tweak of it that keeps you out for an extended period of time. So a little concern until I see Hollywood back out there, because you just never know with those muscle injuries.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I feel like you feel it and you think, okay, should I run it off or should I stop? Like, which way is better for me? You know what I mean? Do I run until it goes away, or do I actually need to stop because by running, I'm making it worse?
Right.
You know what I mean? To be able to make that decision and figure out, what the right thing to do is, I guess the easy answer is always stop, but that's not always easy to tell an athlete, right? And so, I'm hoping that he gets better as well, because look, we said it, this is his first healthy offseason. Yeah. He's 2 days into camp.
There goes that.
And he's right. And it's like, come on, first offseason without a surgery, this, that, and the other. Look, he's looking in peak physical condition, and we want him to break out. I mean, he's got a lot of naysayers, I think, right now. A lot of people wondering why we, spent a first round pick on him, and we want him to do everything possible to show out. And it's just another, we talked about yesterday, it's just another hole in the sails at this point, right? To slow that ship down. And hopefully we can get someone out there to fix him up. But
maybe he just wanted to go hang out with Lamar.
Yeah, they might be hanging out.
I don't think so.
He's like, look, Lamar, I'm vaccinated. See what the vaccinated life is like, Lamar. No, but some other positive things. People are raving about Sammy Watkins. We kind of touched on this yesterday, but a few tweets and from respected opinion makers of the Baltimore Ravens that I saw, somebody said Sammy Watkins is just different. He's just different when he's healthy. And so, I mean, I think this guy could be like a bounce back player of the year type. Not that he went anywhere, but and it would be internally, but I think he's really gonna have an awesome season. So that was exciting to see.
Yeah, no doubt. I listened to his presser today, and again, he's just a likable guy. I mean, he's a guy that always seems to say the right things. And what I found interesting about listening to him today is when he talked about, they asked him what was different about camp. And he said, no, it's just like every other camp. He said, you try and get better, you have fun, try and win a spot, learn the playbook. But the last thing he said was, I found interesting. He said, earn the trust of the coaches. And I think that's important. And he said this is like any camp. So this isn't because he's new to the team that he has to earn the trust. This is every camp. It's important to earn the trust of your coaches. And I think that's important, because I think that could be the reason why we see some of our receivers that we complain don't get the targets, don't get the looks, don't get the snaps. Well, maybe they didn't do exactly what Sammy's talking about, and that's earning the trust of your coaches, because coach isn't going to call your number, isn't going to draw a play up for you if he doesn't have trust that you can make that play. So that was kind of what really stood out to me by what Watkins said today. And also, he really complimented the training staff and the coaching staff for doing a good job of understanding what he needs as far as reps, but also keeping him healthy at the same time. So, put him in for a couple plays and then get him out, get him back in, and also he's matured enough in his own, career to know exactly that as well. So he's confident that he and the team are doing everything possible to keep him on the field.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. Certainly, I'm really looking forward to him showing out this year, and can't wait to see it. What else you got for us, Glenn?
Yeah, well, he also talked about the rookie right next to him, Rashad Bateman, and he said he's already a pro. He said that he's not going to tell him that, but the way he works, the attention he has to the details, and he just says he's already a pro, as far as how he looks right now. So, of course, that was extremely encouraging. I want to hear more and more about Rashad Bateman. Can't wait to see him when we go out there, to visit camp. So hopefully he'll be out there and making plays so we can see him with our own two eyes. The other thing I want to talk about is this drill that the receivers were doing, Jimbo. I mean, we talked about a little before the show, and Coach was asked about. Apparently, they brought the soccer ball out to the wide receiver drills this practice, and Coach Harbaugh couldn't really expand on what the reason is. He said that we'll hear more about it if we ask Keith and T. Martin when they ultimately face the press. But any idea of what bringing a soccer ball to the wide receiver drills could help?
I did hear it has something to do with like hand placement.
Okay.
I don't really understand exactly what it was, but what the motive or what the hopeful outcome is of doing it. But I like it. I am crediting these coaches for being creative, getting out there. Look, we had David Robinson came on our show, and he talked about, you remember, Glenn, the drill where, and he's the famous wide receiver coach. He works with a ton of these guys. Dez, Antonio Brown. He's worked with guys all over the league, and he talked about painting the tips of the quarter of the football and the right at the seams where it's sewed, and teaching guys where to put their index fingers and things like that. Like, these guys get so creative. And look, the fact that we've never seen this in Baltimore is a good thing, because we've also never seen incredibly productive wide receivers in Baltimore. Mm-hmm. So I'm down for whatever. Look, Jeff Bezos said he's going to be a billionaire selling stuff out of his garage. And everyone was like, what, dude, are you talking about? I'm going to sell it online. He just went to freaking space, self-funded. Okay. So the fact that it's unique, I like, because let's think outside the box, because whatever was happening before, I mean, it wasn't like we were lighting the world on fire, right?
Absolutely. Anything, if you tell me it helps, it's just like Sammy said. They tell me, hey, I did it. They told me to, whatever they think helps. These guys are the experts. That's why they are here. That's why the Ravens brought them in. So, yeah, but I can't wait to hear a little bit more about what exactly goes into, that drill and why.
And I'm interested to see what else he does, what else both these guys do. Like, what other wrinkles are they going to have in there and things like that. I think it's going to be an awesome opportunity for these players. Yeah,
no doubt about it. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And also, I listened to J.K. Dobbins today, and man, that is – it's funny because he reminds me a lot of Mark Ingram in the personality he has. He's he's a funny guy. He just seems like a great guy, a guy you'd want to hang around with and just kick it with. I mean, he just seems, and also so serious about his job and wants to do well, wants to be one of the greats, and talked about how improving as a pass catcher in his mind was a necessary part of being one of the great running backs, not just, now, certainly in the game right now, but I think he wants to be one of the greats of all time, and did a lot to not just improve the physical part of his game, but also the mental side. I mean, he said the game is 85% mental. So he worked on the mental side of his game in the offseason. That's a lot goes into that, knowing the playbook, knowing your responsibilities, but also the pressure of the big moments, be able to handle that pressure and still do your job at a high level. So I just love his attention to the details, not just working on his physical game, but continuing to develop his mind and work on that mental side.
Yeah, it's 85% mental for the 1% that can physically do it. Right?
Good point.
Like, once you're there and you don't need to worry about the physical part, because trust me, there's plenty coaches because 90% of them couldn't do it physically, right? Yep. Like, John, I love you to death. You weren't going to play in the NFL.
Mm-mm.
Like, you just weren't, but he's got
he's a leader of men.
That's right. He is absolutely, and he's a dog. Like, John Harbaugh is super competitive, but yeah, I like JK. I respect his approach to the game, and I'm excited to see where he can go. But Glenn, I kind of want to take a step back. We started out talking about the defensive ends, the edge rushers, I guess, the outside linebackers more accurately. And, you're excited about them. Sounds like there's some good stuff coming out of camp. Yep. I'm a little hesitant because anybody's a champion when they're going up against pads. Now, they were in one-on-one drills, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I want to see it in a game, at least a preseason game. But there's some news about Justin Houston that DK is going to put up here for us. There's a recent tweet by Jeremy Fowler, veteran free agent pass rusher Justin Houston has received offers from multiple teams per source, and though he hasn't moved on those, Houston plans to play an 11th NFL season per source. Where are you when it comes? Yeah, do you think it's just he's like Ray Allen at this point, and he like doesn't want to do training camp, and you know what I mean? He feels like he can get his body ready on his own, and he knows how to get after the quarterback, and like.
That would have me concerned of his chances of coming to the Ravens. I think if you're going to a new team, to a new scheme, even a scheme in which you're familiar with a lot of the, I'm sure this isn't something the Ravens are going to show him where he hasn't done any of it before. Sure. But still, he has to learn the verbiage, has to learn, the details of the scheme, and I think that the more he stays out on the market, the more I'm leaning to him returning to a familiar place. And that could be the Colts. It could be the Chiefs. I don't know what the system, how much change it's gone over since he was last in Kansas City. But, I certainly think the Colts system is going to be the same. So it just makes me nervous that he could be returning to familiar place and rather than going into a new team.
Yeah, I understand your point there. It is a bit nerve-wracking in that I think a lot of people had him written in pencil, to be a Baltimore Raven. But it also makes me wonder, like, it sounds like he wants to play, but yeah, I mean, what is his commitment? And do you think it's strategic in that he's waiting for an injury?
Like, certainly drive the market.
You know what I mean? Injuries are inevitable. And so maybe he's not happy with the deals that he's been, the contracts he's been offered. And he's like, well, let me give it a month. I'll give it 30 days. If somebody tears an ACL, you give me a call when that price goes up. He could be doing a little bit of that too. So I guess my question is, do you think if it's between that or his like overall football desire, do you think that he's lacking a little bit of desire to run through that brick wall? Because guys talk about it every year. They get, at the beginning of the season, it's run through a brick wall all over again, and you're signing up to do it every single year. Do you think he's getting tired of that a little bit, or do you think it's more him being strategic and holding out in hopes of getting more money? If it's one of those two, right? Because I go back and forth in my mind between those two.
And I agree with you. I think it is one of those two. It's hard to know, without knowing him, personally and or knowing anyone in his inner circle. But typically when I hear even retired NFL players, they say they get that itch when training camp starts. So I'm surprised that he hasn't signed with a team in even though we're only 2 days in, I'm sure he's starting to feel it. I mean, so that would have me a little concerned. But it could very well be he's just playing some hardball and he wants to drive that price up. Maybe the market isn't what him and his agent were expecting. And he's got a good case for when you look at a down year last year for him. What do you have? 8.5 sacks. I mean, so he's got a pretty good case of wanting to be paid, because that's a premier position. Pass rusher is one of the most premier positions in all of football. So maybe he's just driving a hard bargain, or maybe he is starting to lose a little bit of that love for the things you got to do to prepare for a season. I'm sure he loves when the lights are on and you can go out there and play. But, do you still have the love to do what it takes to get to that point and do what's necessary to be effective when week 1 comes around?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic, because he would be the exact type of player that we need. It's really interesting to see. I'm really interested to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, no doubt. And next to who would be next to him, got some good news coming out from the Monstars, the big slobber knockers inside. Apparently, Calais Campbell and Brandon Williams were active at the line of scrimmage, batting down balls. No surprise to hear Calais Campbell batting down balls. That's something he's done his whole career and did last year as a Raven as well. Also, some really good days by the backup quarterbacks after Lamar was taken out, and Tyler Huntley and Trace McSorley apparently been throwing the ball really well. We did see finally an interception thrown by one of those two as Marlon Humphrey picked him off. And Trace McSorley was the quarterback that had the passes batted down at the line. So not perfect play, but it sounds like we're getting some pretty decent play out of the backup quarterbacks. And that's nice to hear, because that's the biggest worry is how much does Lamar being forced out affect the rest of the unit? And if they can't effectively get the ball out to those new receivers, then how can you build the scheme and involve those guys in that scheme. So I think that it's good to hear that those guys are, doing pretty well. Apparently Tyler Huntley had a 70-yard touchdown pass into double coverage today. So excited to hear, that the quarterbacks are playing well in Lamar's absence.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And just like John said yesterday, it's an opportunity for them to get better at something that they wouldn't have had beforehand, right? Mm-hmm. These guys are getting reps with players they probably wouldn't have had a ton of reps with beforehand. So that is exciting. I mean, that's something to look forward to. Obviously, we just want to have the best insurance policy as possible and not, we want to see them 0 times during the season, but we also want to know that we have the best insurance policy possible out there. So the other thing I want to rehash, because I think it's important information. I kind of want to go back again to the soccer ball thing, because I figured out what it's about.
Oh, okay.
So I figured it out. So
how did you figure it out?
Twitter is good to me.
Okay.
So, Coach is explaining the way that you catch a soccer ball when it's close to your body and the way that you catch it when it's away from your body is the same way. But with a football, we don't do that. We do that. We catch it with our arms when it's up on our body. Mm-hmm. So he wants players to attack the foot, whether they're catching it near their body or away from their body, they want to do it. He wants them to do it the same way. Catch it with your hands, not your arms, right? It's kind of the idea. And he's trying to teach them that. And so it looks like the progression of that, what we'll see next is a football, a soccer ball, a football, a soccer ball, going back and forth and back and forth. It just makes me think of, you guys seen the movie Glory Road? The little boy comes in because he got hit in the face with the basketball, and his mom's like, well, look, that's what you get for catching it with your hands, your arms, not your hands. Like, get out there and catch it. Yeah, that's right. So I think it's a little bit of that, but man, the intricacies to this, right?
Crazy. I mean, you got to do anything you can to gain an edge, right?
Anything, I tell you what. And Coach, keep that one under wraps. All right.
Well, now it's too late. You done let the cat out of the bag, Jimbo.
Well, but the video in Twitter, we got to get that down. We got to get that down, Coach. We got to get that off of Twitter. Do what you got to do to get your guys out there to get them to take that down. But yeah, I agree. I was encouraged by. Look, Calais is going to empty the tank this year, Glenn. I'm feeling it, man. I'm feeling it.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right, because we need some help at pass rush, and he's done it in the past. He's had big seasons sacking the quarterback. So hopefully he can bring some of that back. I mean, man, obviously if Eric DeCosta is out on the market shopping and trying to even have an exploratory talks with Preston Smith, that's a pretty high cap number. So if they're even talking about that, that must mean that they understand that there's a bit of a need at that position as well. So maybe Calais can kind of help fix some of those problems by staying healthy and getting out there and being active, but that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and then also we've talked about him a lot this offseason, but Justin Metabike certainly can make a difference from the inside. Not necessarily as an edge rusher, but as far as total sack numbers and pressure on the quarterback, we haven't heard much about him thus far in camp. Unless I'm missing anything, I haven't heard a ton about him. Also, haven't heard a ton about Sack Daddy, which is not a good sign.
No, last I heard about him, he showed up looking good, but then that was the last I heard about him. So, hey, maybe they're just keeping him a secret, Jimbo, because they want to surprise the opposing offenses.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's all I got about camp today, unless I'm missing something, Glenn.
No, that's it for today. So we'll keep churning these out. As long as we keep seeing updates, we'll keep feeding them along to you guys.
That's right.
But let us know what you guys think from what we said. If we missed anything, if there's anything else that trickled out of camp that we didn't touch on, let us know in the comments, and we'll talk soon.